Hello, everyone. It's Tuesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brand. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello.
Good morning.
How you guys doing?
Beautiful. Thank you. Amazing.
Nice. Talk about you did James Bond this morning. What happened?
So somehow, I ended up in a serious traffic, and I knew that if I took the kids to school, I won't make it back. The rain causes traffic, so I had to wait for my husband to do his own James Bond, meet me up at the junction. Then he went to drop off the kids while I came to work, and I had to plead with him like,
see, the problem is that once it rains in Lagos, everything shuts down. Like, why is that?
And sadly, the roads that were fixed, I said the same thing, like, literally, you know, Facebook would do reminder. I wrote a post about this, that rainy season road crashes, and exactly a year after, the same roads that we had issues with, those roads were fixed. Those same roads are bad. I'm wondering.
I mean, yesterday's rain was not, it was no joke. I was pitying those on the island because I went to some certain areas on the island a couple of months ago. And there was no water. The rain had poured about 2 days earlier, and it was still heavily flooded. And I can just imagine this one is an ocean in that place.
That's the same thing I wanted to say this morning because, you know, I didn't go out yesterday when it was raining. I was home. But this morning, I had to come to work with my small car, not the SUV. So I was feeling the impact of the rain, the water. Once I get into a pothole, I just feel the boom, and I cringe. You know, and an idea came to me. I was like, if we were in a country where we had car manufacturers, I'll just meet them to probably produce a car that has water resistance because,
fix the drainage.
Fix the road. This is for businessmen. The government isn't fixing the road. So somebody who is a businessman will invent a car that is water resistant. And people like us that need it will buy.
Okay.
So you've made money.
I know, you made the problem worse.
No, I don't think so.
Anyway. Yes, I'm saying, but you need to go and watch, I think it was yesterday's Wake Up Nigeria was very informative because what I learned on that show yesterday, I was able to use it yesterday when I was driving because there was a lady mechanic I was teaching us how to drive in the rain. And exactly what she said, two things I got from her. When you shouldn't drive fast past inside the water because some people think because they have an SUV, you just zoom through. You do that, water can get into the plugs and you can actually cause bigger damage. And when you're done, when you're out of the water, you still press on your brakes about 2 just to get something to drive, but just to keep pressing press the brakes about 4 times.
I think we all need to go and watch
it. So you know exactly, but it's important.
Yes, did she give an advice for people who live in my area and Nima's area how to navigate that rain? I'm telling you, this my idea is good. Let's go and pitch it to a company.
Nelson, I guess.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. Talking about innovations, I just came across this story of a South African doctor that's found a cure for deafness. So usually when your middle ear, when you have issues with your middle ear, we have people who are born that way or some illness will cause it. And once you have that, it's either you get implants or some form of hearing aids. But he's found a way to do like 3D printing of the bones there.
Whoa.
And then once you fix it, then your hearing is back. And this is South African. He's the first doctor to do this.
Solution.
And it's right here in Africa. So I'm very proud.
Water resistant car. That's my idea for Nigeria.
Hey, from your mouth to here, anything can happen here. So, fantastic. So
how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Just that the rain yesterday was just crazy. We were on the road. And I was just feeling bad. I mean, I would really like to hear from those living in that VGC, Lekki, Aja area. I mean, especially when
those living in Ajangbadi, Alakupo area. They're also facing the same traffic.
Yes, we're in the same Nigeria.
Sorry, I just... But I'm saying, though, I don't know how you guys are managing with that much water.
Yeah.
I mean, some people actually have water coming into their homes.
Like, we live, my house is like high. Magodo is on the high.
We are above sea level.
Above sea level, totally. You know, mainland is just the place. You can't pay me to live on the island.
Mainland, but we were flooded.
I can come and visit you on the island, but I can't live on the island. I'm sorry. Anyway, let's go on the break. When we come back, we'll breeze through the front pages because there's so much to do today. It's a packed show. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, we're starting today with Vanguard. Vanguard, new capital base for banks may rise to 230 billion naira. We're still going to have a different show where we have to break down the 5 key agenda of central banks. So we'll get somebody to come talk about it maybe next week. Pencil, most wanted cultist kidnapper in Lagos dies in shootout with police.
Wow.
Presidential poll, PDP Atiku head to Supreme Court over bid to inspect INEC server. Terror war, troops stop establishment of new camps in Borno, kill 3 terrorists and rescue 95 hostages. FG remains focused on rescuing Leah Sharibu. And there will be no cattle colonies, Fulani vigilante in Southeast, says governors. Nigeria not a fragile state, says World Bank. Okay,
So the
shootout.
The shootout.
Pencil
Okay.
that
Yes.
idea.
So this notorious kidnapper, Kingpin, and he's also the leader of Eye Confraternity in the Ikorodu area of Lagos. His name is Mufutau Timileyin Sulaiman. He's dead right now. He had a face-off with the police because he's been on the watch list. They've wanted him for about 2 months now because he killed 2 Bureau de Change officials who he lured to their den that he wanted to change $10,000. And so they came with the money and then he kidnapped them. They put them in a den and got 1.6 million ransom. Even after the ransom was paid, they killed those 2. So the police, the SARS officials have been on his case and
So,
finally he
We're happy
was
that SARS were
killed.
able to do
Yes.
that. Now, the major headline, CBN, you have the major headline? Let me take on the major headline very quickly. CBN is pretty much saying that the current capital base of 15 billion, I think, about 10 years ago, is no longer sustainable or realistic. That because of the devaluation of Naira, it's important that we have a new capital base. So they're thinking between 30 billion and 230 billion Naira for the banks. But they'll release an agenda to help us understand how to go about this. So from next week, we'll get somebody, an economist, who's going to break it down so you understand and we understand better.
Yes, and the federal government is saying that they're still focused on making sure that they rescue Leah Sharibu, and that he said that he was talking, that's the vice president was talking at a town hall meeting in New York, and he says that apart from Leah Sharibu, there are about over 108 Christian girls who have been rescued. He says some stories have not gained international, recognition, but people
in addition to what the
rescued.
vice president was saying, he's saying that some kidnappings are also not real, that they are
Yes,
fake, or they are politically motivated.
Yes.
So those Nigerians in diaspora shouldn't depend totally on social media. That these stories can be, some are true and some are just politically
He
based.
says they're mostly exaggerated, that yes, they have issues of kidnappings,
But why are you squeezing your
banditry.
face?
But then,
I feel very disappointed.
What's disappointing you? Please, he's telling you exactly what he knows.
That is the issue, because it highlights what little information gets to the vice president, because the Nigerians in Nigeria are living in terror, scared of walking. I went to Ibadan. I went to Benin a few months back. My mother-in-law called me. My mom called me. Everybody is saying, don't go and exercise on the road. Don't go anywhere. Everybody is was scared and trying to protect ourselves. You're not telling the Nigerians in diaspora that it is escalated because you don't know the reality of what Nigerians are going through on ground.
He might
That's
know
sad.
and still want to say,
Because I love him.
But what they're saying, what he is saying in his defense is that these stories, what makes you scared is the exaggeratedness of it. That they have actually gone to
should go and ask
they have
Isaac Adewale.
investigated some of these stories and found out that they're just mess.
You should ask Isaac Adewale, his colleague whose son just came back. What happened?
Moving on to The Punch. CBN plans fresh banks recapitalization as capital base weakens by $3.5 billion. Picture here of Lagos. Terrible, terrible. Filth in Agumbiade Street in Agege. Another Pen Cinema in
This is not
Agege.
even showing what is happening in Nima's area.
Terrible.
This is
Terrible.
Agege.
Expose killers in your midst, can urges Miyetti Allah. I took 7 billion naira loan to pay salary, says Ogun governor. Wife finds corpse of husband and another woman in Lagos residence. Lagos mobile courts where innocent and guilty are jailed. INEC server tribunal dismisses access request. Article heads to Supreme Court. So this wife that found her husband with another woman dead in their house.
Yeah.
Who has the story?
I have the story.
Right.
So she went to visit the husband does not stay in the same house with her. Right. So he probably picked up a mistress because they're still trying to identify the mistress. So she got an information that he was killed, when only for her to check the residence to find that the man was killed. He was lying in a pool of blood with the mistress, and there was a knife involved. involved. So
them?
The woman was
both of
stabbed.
them were stabbed. So we don't know who stabbed who, but both of them were dead. So there's a forensic investigation going on to ascertain what actually happened.
Okay,
It's
so Governor,
the story of Ogun State.
Dakpo
Dakpo Abiodun
Abiodun
came out to say that he borrowed 7 billion naira to pay his first month, that he arrived in office, swearing in it on the 29th, and then the next month it just dawned on him 2 days after that he needs to pay salaries, and he needed to pay salaries.
Say it just dawned on him.
Yes, that was the way he wrote the papers, so that he just realized that this is his day 2 in office. He's barely gone through the papers, and he called the head of service. That I know that we're not expecting. The head of service said, don't worry, we don't need to pay salaries now. People understand you just got into office. They expect you to just get into the system first. I wonder what happened to transition. But he now mentioned that he got to the account and found out that they didn't have enough money to pay salaries for May. And he called a few of his bank MDs. It's good to know big people.
I'm telling you.
And they gave him, they gave him the 7 billion.
They want to know you.
Yeah, so he called a few bank MDs that were his friends, according to the papers, and they gave him the loan, and he was able to pay. He said he's not going to join issues with the previous administration, that he has made a promise to himself in private and in openly public that he would not come and say what the previous administration did wrong, but he will focus on moving forward. I think that's
the point. That's the point I wanted you to make. Very good.
That's fantastic.
All right, moving on to Daily Sun. Very quickly, Tribunal rejects Atiku's request on INEC server. Gridlock. Satellite town residents kick against new fuel farm banks. Container terminals. Vigilance group. Southeast governors say no to Miyetti Allah. I'm avoiding that story because I was supposed to discuss it today, but hopefully, if we don't, we can just mention it very quickly. Some kidnapping politically motivated Oshimbajo. Edo Assembly, 2 more lawmakers take oath and join new speaker. Let's talk about Miyetti Allah very quickly. Let's just tell our viewers what the headline is saying.
Okay, so the Southeast governors are saying Miyetti Allah had offered first that we would create
northern
Fulani vigilante youth group, and that they would help to join whatever security apparatus the Southeast has put together, and they would work hand in hand to protect both the headsmen and the community that host them. So now the Southeast government is saying that
Mba, we don't want
your help. We can handle ourselves.
And lots of people have also responded saying that this is very suspicious. That we can actually secure our people.
Are we discussing now? So let's handle it.
Because now we have a guest. We're trying to get a guest today. Hopefully he shows up today to help us understand the work procedure of a headsman. What exactly do they need to do? How do they work? And why do they need certain areas? And all the intricacies of that business of herding cattle. So we want somebody to give us a good understanding so we understand what the issues are. So we don't judge what we don't understand. Okay.
Major headline.
Major headline. Article, yes, go ahead.
So the Election Petition Tribunal has refused to grant the Article's team, the right to go through their server, because according to you guys.
Please.
Thank you. So what they're saying is, what the tribunal is saying is that both parties have joined issues. I didn't understand that because they have joined issues, they cannot ask them to go through the server. The council on the side of the former VP is saying, we're not asking whether there's a server or not. You people have stated categorically over and over again that there was a server and that at this point it was just technical things that you were doing with the server. So we know that there's a server, but you need to give us the right to go through.
The good news is that they're going to Supreme Court, so hopefully...
The fact that they just keep quiet on this server is making us more curious.
Let's just wait for the
See how excited you are. Can we quickly take the satellite story?
Please, important.
Quickly, yes. So the residents of Amuwo Odofin local government.
Amuwo Odofin, I know that.
If I know that. Okay. They petitioned the federal government over indiscriminate siting of tank farms in the area. So they are saying that the place is densely overpopulated and the tank farms are capable of exploding. Their activities are already making life unbearable for the residents. Now, they're also saying that they've been made to give up over 12 kilometers to house half a kilometer to over 12 tank farms already. And there's a terminal already at Alakija. That terminal is causing a lot of oil spillage.
Well, this is
there's a lot of
residential
area.
On no
and they're
account should they have
complaining.
tank farms in the
Exactly.
residential
So
area.
I think the government should listen
it's a hot
to them.
topic, actually. It's something we need to discuss.
Yes.
We need people in that area to call in and tell us what the issues are. This story about our president's wife protesting against the presidential cabal is very interesting. We'll make it a topic for another day. We have to move on. This cabal matter, hopefully we get a new cabal.
People are now supporting her against the current.
Okay, I think
They've
there's
been
one
supporting her
fan
since.
is saying that, you know, when you check in your luggage, on your boarding pass, it will show how many luggages you have actually checked in because
So
of the
confirm
issues
it.
that we've had with people that have been...
I don't want to speak through that. We have to actually make it an issue so that people understand it very clearly, how to go through...
Just make sure, so that nobody, what's the word?
Falls victim.
Falls victim to people
extra
adding
bag.
luggages that contain drugs on you, and then you get in trouble.
We have to run off. Unfortunately, that's all we
Maybe
can
we
take
need to check
on
something.
front page review. But definitely we'll discuss these issues of immigration, how to go through immigration clearly. And also our president's wife, no, she's not the first lady. We shouldn't call her that anymore. First lady talking about the cabal, because we are all waiting to know who are going to be members of this kitchen cabinet.
This new cabal.
This new cabal. Tokwa is offering herself to him, the cabal. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we discuss Maple Canadian College. They are helping you to get into Canada easily and smoothly. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
For education.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. Joining us is the President, Maple Canadian College, Mrs. Ebi Obaro, and the Director, Academic Programs, Rosedale Academy Partner, Maple Canadian College, Pam Tumbo. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Tell us what exactly was the plan and vision of your establishment?
Well,
That's the Maple,
before I go into that, I just want to give a little background story. Maple Education has been recruiting students from Nigeria to Canada for over 17 years.
Wow.
And we have observed that our students, when they go straight to university in Canada, some of them have problems. And the problems they encounter is not because they are not smart, but it's because the curriculum, the WAEC curriculum and the Canadian high school curriculum are not the same. So they struggle, some of them struggle in class. And when they are facing all these difficulties, some of them drop out, some change programs. And so we thought, you know what, I think it's high time we brought what we call the pre-university program or the grade 12 program, Canadian grade 12 program to Nigeria to prepare our students adequately to succeed in any Canadian university or any university in the world. So I'll say that our mission is to provide a world-class Canadian education to highly motivated students and to set them on the best path to achieving their academic and professional goals in top choice universities in the world.
Okay, so what are some of the highlights that will make a parent be attracted, to sending their children to Maple Canadian College?
Well, Pam can take that question.
Sure, I can speak to that. I think that we're thrilled, actually, to be partnering with Maple Canadian College. This is a really important opportunity for us to bring the Canadian program, and in particular, this is an Ontario Secondary School Diploma, an OSSD diploma that students have. And this is not a program that is easily accessible outside of Canada. So to be able to bring it to Nigeria for students to be able to participate, we're absolutely thrilled. And what happens in this particular program is that students are learning in a very different way than they do in the African program. They are focusing on skill development. They're focusing on the ability to do critical thinking and creative thinking, problem solving, and so on. Students are also assessed very differently. So it isn't, in the Ontario program, it isn't about getting a grade, although eventually we have to get a grade, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is on improving student learning, helping students to get better at whatever it is that they do.
So who are the target students? Is there a particular age or particular grade that they have to be be able to
Yeah.
join MCC?
The kind of students we are looking for are students who are either in SS2 right now or SS3, or students who already have a WIC certificate, or students who between the ages of 14 and 17 and who are not yet in university and are looking to go to university outside Nigeria.
So I found out that you have entrance exams, and what's the process to get into the school? Aside from the entrance exam, what's the pre-qualification, so that people watching can know whether they fit in right now and what they need to do to fit into getting the admission into your college?
The exam is not very, very difficult, so I don't want students to be afraid of this exam. It's just so that we know their maths and English skills. Like we said, it's very important for them to succeed in university. So we test them, and if we find that they are lacking, then we can do some upgrading. We don't want to turn anybody away. You know, people learn differently. Maybe such students will do better in the college.
When I read about your college, I understood I could relate, because I left Nigeria at the point where I had to go do 12th grade in the US. And I knew it was difficult initially because I was just reading and reading and reading. When the exam came, they'll give you a heart. The exam in the US, you give you a heart, they will actually label about 5 parts of it and just tell you to label. I'm wondering, okay, I've crammed the entire heart. You know, so I understand and I can relate. But the problem is getting, how long would a child spend in this extra academy? Because a parent is thinking, I've already invested 6 years, I've already paid for 6 years. How long again would my child have to take to finish your own academy before now getting into university? Is it another 2 years and that 1 year? How long is it?
It's a very short program, actually,
okay.
Fortunately. I don't understand what you're saying, because when we tell parents about the grade 12 program, a lot of them will tell you, oh, I don't want my child to repeat. He already has WIC and it's waste of money. But I can tell you this for nothing. It is not waste of money. We start September 3rd and we finish June 30th. It's just
it's about another year.
Yeah, just 10 months. 10 months. And it's rigorous. It will cover all the gaps that they have, so that once they step into a Canadian university or a British university, because with the OSSD certificate, students don't need A-level.
That's a certificate you would get for them.
Yes, it's a certificate from the government of Canada. It's not a certificate that we are going to give to them. The certificate is coming from Canada.
So the exams are based on the prerequisites?
Yes, the maths and English exam.
Go ahead, Mariam.
Does it matter if they've got like TOEFL, IELTS? Because we have a lot of Nigerians that write these exams.
Yes.
Does that give them would that make it easier to go straight into a Canadian university, or will they need MCC, or a pre-degree program like yours?
I think that what IELTS does is it just assures a university of their English proficiency, but it doesn't prepare students for the way of learning that they're going to have in that university. And so they have to be prepared to be able to sit in a seminar with their peers and be able to give their opinion and think critically about issues. And if it's not something that they've done through their high school career, they're going to be a little lost.
Okay, so what happens to students, because this is a pre-university, what happens to students who do not pass the examinations proceeding to Canadian universities? What do you do with them?
Well, we do have grade 11 courses as well, which they can take. And the beauty about this program is we don't need to have 30, 40 students in order to have a class. Even with 2 students, we can teach. So it's for everybody.
So you don't need an admission letter into a Canadian university to enter. You can just be a graduate of 12th grade and you can of a WIC holder, and you can actually qualify to get. You don't need to have a ticket. You don't need to have gotten admission into a Canadian university to be eligible.
No.
You still apply to the universities, but you're applying with that Ontario Secondary School diploma.
Gotcha.
Right.
And
so
then
you're not an international student, you're an Ontario student.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I read somewhere within your research that you have Canadian trained teachers. So it's not we're not getting the people that apply are not getting trained by Nigerians, but they're trained by Canadian certified teachers. Can you explain that better for those who want to come and attend your college.
Yeah. So students are actually really lucky because they're going to get two teachers. They're going to have the teacher who is in the classroom with them, and I'm personally training those teachers. I've had a 35-year career in education, and my role has been professional development for teachers. So I will be training them to help them to utilize this curriculum in the way that we do in Canada, because we want students to experience Canada in Nigeria.
Gotcha. Let me take this call from Maury. Morning, are you there?
Hello, yes.
Morning, go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm Laura, and I would like to talk on this topic, the Canadian topic.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
actually a student, SSC student. I wrote white, and I would like to say, and I would like to, I'm Laura, and I would like to, hello?
You're listening to your TV.
Stop listening to your TV. Listen to us, please. Go ahead. We can hear you. Oh, sugar.
Well, yeah, so what's the cost implication compared to other institutions? Are you cheaper? Are you better? Are you affordable?
When you come to them.
Yeah.
But how can we reach you? How can we reach you?
You can reach us. Our phone number is 090-6752-7130.
Okay. I
Email.
want to say that again so that our viewers, our producers can put it on the screen.
On the
It's on the
screen.
It's there already.
Okay.
Yeah. And then our email address is info@maplecc.ca, and our website is www.maplecc.ca.
Okay, so people can reach you there
Yes.
to get information
Yes.
on it. Anything else you want to say to our viewers before we go?
Yes, I would encourage Nigerian parents who have, children that they want to send to Canada or anywhere in the world to take advantage of Maple Canadian College. On Saturday, we did an open house, and guess who was there?
Who? Tell us.
The Canadian High Commissioner to Nigeria. The government of Canada is very happy
recognize
and
them.
excited about this opportunity for our students here to get the Ontario Secondary School Diploma before venturing out to Canada, to the United Kingdom, to Australia, or anywhere in the world.
Hope
Fantastic.
visa will be easier for those
All
that
right.
have
Yeah, I'm a certified Canadian immigration consultant.
Okay.
So our college has 4 immigration consultants. We are all Canadian citizens.
Okay, good.
And we are able to process not only visa for our students, but admission, because we represent over 50 Canadian schools.
Fantastic.
So
All right,
admission is easy.
We'll definitely bring you back on Canadian immigration issues.
Yes,
because
I'll
trust
be
me,
ready.
Nigerians are all lining up to Canada.
I'll be
right now.
ready.
So ask me questions. Okay.
That's my job.
Up next, we have a lineup of topics. Guess what's the hottest topic in Nigeria? About a professor, a prominent professor on an airplane. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Read it. So I'm trying to look for it.
We're back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, a story has been trending on social media since yesterday. And it will not be fair if we don't talk about it. Anyways, according to reports, a young man had asked Professor Wole Soyinka to stand up from his allocated seat on the airplane. The professor had respectfully vacated the seat without any argument. However, other passengers were furious at the young man for disrespecting the well-respected professor. So Toye Cole, a businessman in Nigeria, posted this scenario and talked, and people started reacting. Now, what are your own thoughts on it? You can call us on 070-80668014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. So our question is simple. If you were the young man and Professor Wole Soyinka was on your seat in the airplane, would you ask Professor Wole Soyinka to stand up Or would you jejely sit down elsewhere? Let's hear your thoughts.
That's what.
Wait, calm down. Let me take a look at this.
Okay, no English. Let me first interpret it.
go ahead.
Koleko means you are not trained. Lack of home training.
Excuse me?
Lack of home training. Lack of home training is what will make you see. You don't even need to know who he is. Just the gray hair on his head is enough to make you keep quiet and sit down. So what I would have done in that situation...
Auntie, wait, calm down.
Yes, Auntie.
With all this home training that we have in this society, we are badly behaved outside. With all the home training that we claim to have in the society.
Obviously, we don't have
Excuse me. Numbers are given on the plane for a reason. You pay and you get your number, right? You get your seat number. You get your seat number. You walk into a place and somebody is sitting on your seat number. The person, it doesn't matter. He's a human being. He's a man.
Okay.
He's sitting on your seat. I would ask you, excuse me, this is not your seat, sir. Can you please stand up? If he gives me a reason why he should sit there, then I'll let him sit because he's an elder. But I will ask for my seat. It's my seat. It's my right. If anything happens and, you know, we hear of people misplacing bags, or how do I say it, or something is being... Let's take, for instance, somebody digs. Hold on. Let's take, for instance, somebody digs. They put something in that seat, which is not meant for me. I'm not going to sit in somebody else's
Okay, just
seat.
wait. Let me come to Mariam and hear your thoughts first. What are your own thoughts on this?
My thought is me, knowing who I am, I would not ask him to get up. But I understand why it is important to ask for your seat. And the reason I've come for me is a new understanding that I have right now, which is I was brought up in such a way that you respect elders, but almost to a point of servitude. Do you understand? No matter what it is, no matter the elder is always right, even when the elder is wrong. I'm trying to bring up my children in a way that they can stand up for themselves.
Thank you.
And be respectful while doing it. So,
thank you, Mariam.
I have a very perfect example. There was a time I went to a federal government hospital, and when I went with my kids, and we'll stand up for the older ones. But these are little kids, less than 5 and 6 and 5. And they needed to sit down. The older ones an elder will come, they'll get up, and the older person would sit. But the children, when they need to sit, nobody will create space for children. That's something I found with Nigerian elders. Right. They take it so much on themselves. They do not even pay. They've not pass it on to children and pregnant women.
Let's come to this issue. I mean, we need to go back to what our values are. What do we value at all? In that situation, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't ask him to. I wouldn't even disturb him. I would sit down elsewhere and start a conversation. Sir, do you know you're on my seat, sir?
Wisdom.
And just have a conversation. Because when you do that, but don't worry, sir, it's okay, you can have a seat. Is there any reason why you like the window seat? This is actually your seat. And we start a conversation. Before you know it, I've earned a friend in a Professor Wole Soyinka. Then you don't know what can come from that.
Murayo, if I was in that situation too, I would have acknowledged to him that this is my allotted seat. However, I understand that you're already sitting there, and I wouldn't mind sitting here. So you are not saying, I'm not saying don't speak up to an elder. I'm not saying you should not respect. I'm not saying don't speak up. I'm not saying, because we tend to worship, and we tend to be so scared. But I believe that it's not about even if you don't know who he is, even if he is a nobody, if you respect to the point of fear, do you know what it costs to have full gray on your head? In our culture, we respect our elders because we understand the wisdom that comes with age. That no matter how intelligent you are, you cannot acquire until you experience it. Most of the time, we are forming, and I acknowledge the fact that the generation we have now, they don't know anything called respect.
No, I don't agree.
We don't. What we have now are like saying daddy high five, grandpa high five. That's not the way we respect children.
So I was in the US last year, and in the bus, we saw old women coming inside.
You get up.
And nobody told me. No, people were getting up. Yes. I got up. My husband got up. We're standing for them to sit. I understood that they needed it. The seats were not numbered.
No, there's disabled seats and the elder seats in front.
I'm just saying
yes.
The number wasn't given to me. Right. And it was my choice to stand up because I saw that I needed to respect those old women.
Ojo, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Yes.
Morning. Go ahead, please. You're live. Go ahead, please.
I'm calling from Ilorin, Kwara State.
Yes, go ahead.
Welcome to the show.
I'm the first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
In Yoruba land, we give respect to the elders. So you have a culture, very rich culture. So no matter who sit on your seat, if once it is an elder, you give that respect to that person.
Okay.
No matter the cost, no matter everything, give that respect and find another place to sit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So
Okay,
I'll relate this to my daughter. My daughter is 7 years old. She walked into the studio like a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And when she came in, she already see you guys upstairs. And over there was Auntie MM and somebody, and she was already saying hello to them from here. And Auntie MM over there, all the way over there, was saying hello. And I said, Elizabeth, go over there and go and greet them. Go over there and greet them. And you guys objected. Said, no. He said, why would you tell her to go and greet them? I said, no, because she's a child. She has to go over there, go and greet them.
Why?
Yes, because it's the right thing to do. She's a child. You see adults in the house, and you're not going to just stay here. Because of what reason? Go and greet the adults in the studio.
Why don't you go to the whole village and be greeting everybody one by one?
See, let me even say something that, about this.
I'm looking at you people like,
that we take to another level. We know there's actually a tribe of people in Nigeria that people say that they can greet you from morning till night, but right the moment they turn their backs,
they will speak against you.
That they will say about you. So we want the respect to be real and to be genuine.
To come from inside.
Let me finish. Can I go?
Thank you, Miriam.
In South Korea, there was a time that they used to always have plane crashes. And one of the reasons, so Americans came on board to find out what was happening. They found out that the co-pilot used to find it, because of their culture of respect, they'll find it hard to correct the pilot to the point of death.
Oh,
it happened over and over again. No, it's
that's how it starts.
This is how it starts.
That's true.
There is respect. There is the way you can give respect. You know, you are talking about the US. In the UK, people call Oyinbo children all sorts of names. They don't have respect. They have respect. When old people enter the buses, they get up. Nobody tells them twice.
I saw that.
They don't.
see, can we bring it back to this case?
I have this call. So, wait, let me take this call. Morning, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Taiwo speaking.
Go ahead.
Yes, I want to strike a balance here. Let's try and understand it from Obiajuli's point and from Tokbet's point. Now, we must understand that, yes, we need to respect elders. But for the part of security's sake, yes, I will tilt to the right. But for the sake of respect at all, I will tilt to the left with the Tokbet. But then, can we strike a balance? I'd rather go and meet him, even if I don't know who he is. I'd rather meet him and tell him, oh, Daddy, this is my seat. But then, I'll do something, sir. Can I know where you are supposed to sit? I'll move there. Or get an alternative place to sit, which is more like paying the due respect. And I think at that point, people will even respect you. They will call you. But haven't done that part. You get it?
Please, I've been okay.
Go ahead. All right, thank you very much, sir.
So, what we should listen to this Tonye's report. He said that the cabin crew appealed, and everybody around appealed to him. Let this man sit down.
Okay, what was his reason?
Muzzle, chest, face cap. Bros said no. Prof should stand up.
Please give his reason.
So
it's not his reason, no. Is that his own reason?
No, that was somebody else. No, somebody else was claiming to be. Yes, it wasn't the reason. It's not the real reason.
Okay.
So if we say that everybody appeals to you concerning someone, and this young man feels that you want to sit down there, go ahead. There's a proverb in Yoruba that why we respect is because we're going to get to this age, and we also want to be given that accord. Now, the reason people say don't call somebody daddy, don't call them uncle, is because we've seen some old people abuse the privilege. Right. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't train your child to give respect, but they should understand the boundaries of those respects.
But the idea of saying that the respect is not from within is immaterial to what we're talking about. No, the most important thing is that you are training your children, because that's where humility starts from. When a child knows that you cannot speak to an adult anyhow, it begins to give them that sense of humility that they need. Because a lot of people go with that attitude.
See, we're talking respect and different ways to give it. Yes. We're talking about honest true to God respect.
Yeah.
We're talking of more than lip service respect.
Explain.
Yes.
And this is where I'm going. The man had the right to his seat. And he had the right to ask for his seat. And there's a respectful way to do that.
Yeah.
Which
But
he didn't deploy.
Wait, leave that.
Which he
That's
didn't
not what
deploy.
Let's agree.
Let's
Let me just finish it. Let me just finish it. Then there's another way where you would sit down, you would not ask for your seat, you sit down and
you'll be
grumble
grumbling.
and say all sorts of things about
did
the
not
person that
agree
you're
on that.
sitting beside.
That's not what we're saying. Let's go on a break.
not what we're saying.
Back.
Even what you're saying,
We'll
not
get
what
your
we're saying.
calls and more tweets. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we have lots of tweets. Go ahead, please.
So King Wandi says, what Soyinka wanted to do, and this is me quoting him, that was how corruption, intimidation, and cutting corners started in Nigeria. It's only in this part of the world people jump queue and due process simply because they are big men, from Paul Alfred. And somebody else says, let's be straight here. The guy in question said there was a reason he picked a window seat and he later exchanged contacts with him. What if there was a criminal issue on that seat and he knows nothing about it? We should all be careful.
So Ugochin Sofo says, it is not completely true that wisdom comes with age. Some elders behave foolish, but it takes someone younger who is circumspect and cautious to correct the foolish elderly. Mr. Adebayo says the cabin crew is wrong to even persuade the owner of the seat to sit elsewhere. It's up to the owner of the seat to agree or not to any last-minute changes, which is not his fault. He should sue the airline for embarrassing him.
Okay, I think we're all saying the same thing in different ways. We all agree that you should respect elders.
Yes,
Do you agree?
yes,
we all
we
agree that we
agree,
should respect
yes,
them.
we agree on
What
that.
we're saying is that the approach could have been different.
Yes.
Yes, it's your seat. It's allocated to you.
Yeah.
You see an elder man there. You say, sir, that's my seat. Oh. Is there a reason why you want to sit there? At that moment, he might actually get up and say, oh, sorry, I didn't realize it was your seat.
Possible he didn't
or
know.
he says, I prefer the window seat. Would you allow me? There's that cordial conversation. But when it seems as if you're adamant, insisting that you should stand up, that's where it comes across as being, you're being disrespectful.
In a disrespectful way.
Yes, Lamara.
Toye Cole's
Interpretation.
Yes,
of
that
what
was
happened.
disrespectful.
So we don't know.
So
I
it's
think until
possible-
we hear from the prof and the guy sitting beside the prof would not know exactly what.
Go ahead, let me come to you before you take my call.
Okay, so the bottom line for me is that we should, in as much as we are taught to respect elders, we should learn to create boundaries. We should be confident enough to ask for what is right, for what is ours, irrespective of whether the person is older than us or not. It doesn't matter. You can ask respectfully, but know your right and ask for it. That is my
So
point.
if I Hurricane Andrew,
Let me take this call before I come to tweet. Hello, are you there?
Hello.
Morning. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning.
Amadi, go ahead, please.
Morning.
Okay, see, the thing is with Nigeria is that I don't like in Africa, what has held us back? You see, this respect of the thing we talk about, it's high time we differentiate between respect and enduring,
abuse.
enduring things, all sort of things. That guy that I was talking about, even if it's the whole planet was begging him to let it go, fine, as a normal human being, kindness should tell you, okay, let him go. But he paid for it.
Thank you.
The man sitting there doesn't know how he got the money to pay for it. And if it was the other way around, they'll tell him to get up, they'll beat him up.
Before.
Like elderly person. In Nigeria, they'll say, Agbani, ordinary party, how do they say, elderly person, 100 million naira, Emma Basoro, they'll respect him. That's why we're where we are. Because of respect. Respect them. Respect this one. Respect that one. That's gotten us nowhere. Like in the UK, the US, you guys are talking about. They know what they are doing. When those kids get up for elderly people, because of the way they've been trained, they know they don't respect those elderly people. They do something wrong, they'll say, they'll call to jail.
Yes.
Or here they'll say, house arrest. Oh, they'll let him not die in jail. We don't differentiate properly between respect and enduring.
Okay, I think we all agree to that. Thank you very much, Amadi. I think we all agree that we shouldn't take respect to that level where you now begin to allow things to happen and you don't follow due process. We understand that. We're saying that in this kind of situation, there's sometimes you must use wisdom. There's something called wisdom.
Nicely.
Because you can actually earn more from this situation than you lose.
So I feel that there are many cases where respect and this elderly status has been abused, in the case of sexual molestation of younger ones, in the case of intimidation and all of that. But we mustn't, it doesn't usurp the fact that we should respect our elders, but we must understand the principles. So kindness, our values show we should be kind to one another. Even if he's not an older person, you'll be polite about the way you say it.
I'm happy that you said that you brought sexual abuse into this. You know, we had to retrain our children on how far you could respect someone because of the way people have abused respect.
I'll go back to my child's example.
Yeah, secondly, we also had to retrain people how to help people at the airports. Remember, you carry someone's bag out of respect.
People take advantage. So because people take advantage of a good thing doesn't make it bad. So people take advantage of something that is good.
So because people take advantage of children, I shouldn't allow my daughter to greet adults because people take advantage of her.
Let me finish. Mariah, you see that situation? Your daughter came here and she was greeting people. Those elders, maybe you didn't notice, they were greeting you, Mariah. They were greeting you. You now sent your child from this point to go all the way there.
It's not all the way.
Wait. These people were going to come this way. There's nothing wrong with greeting. When she came into the room, when she greeted us, she greeted everybody.
Yes.
When she came upstairs, she greeted everyone.
Mariah. Just about 10 steps.
It's a different thing.
I won't even blame you.
No, but it's our culture.
Because it's their culture.
It's our culture.
When she did that, I understood.
I'm not arguing for arguing. It's our culture.
I have worked with people from different cultures, and I know that there's one thing with this certain culture, this particular culture, which is called eye service. That's the negative of it. Respect does not come from
that's the negative of it.
For your daughter.
That's the negative of it.
I have to round up this because our guests are in the studio. Let me take this call and take the tweet and we'll round up. Hello, are you there, Gift? Hello, Gift. We lost that call. Go ahead.
Okay, Ifeanyi Hurricane Andrew Ibe says, I don't agree with TMO Speaks, but I agree with Mariam. We can't keep mistaking servitude for respect. It only leads to hypocrisy. But I respectfully ask Baba if he insists on sitting there to give me his seat number. But I go grumble tire for that triple. And he says, some people greet you. Okay, thank you. Okay, he's been saying this for years. Nigerian respect is mostly pure drama, eye service respect. Treating people with respect is much better.
Unfortunately, that's all we can take on this. When we come back, we discuss disabilities. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So there is a law which supports persons with disabilities in Nigeria. But in reality, according to reports, people with disabilities still feel left out of being integrated into the society. Join us on the show to discuss implication of this at work and businesses. Is a stakeholder, Pastor Itwa Igodalo, in the building. And we have Mr. Adetoyoshe Abioye, also from the Disabilities Foundation. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show. Are you a pastor too? Okay, so Pastor, I do apologize. So you can call us on 070-8066-8014. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweets. Before we start talking about issues of disabilities, what are your general thoughts on the hot topic concerning Professor Wole Soyinka? Anybody want to say something?
Right. Thank you very much, Mariah. Thanks for having us. What I want to say is linked to the issues around disabilities. Because the young man that is in question is, I think his name is Tosin Odunfa or something like that. Or the hashtag, somebody put in there.
A report saying that it wasn't him. He was just saying it hypothetically, that it was the one that was there.
Yes.
That he,
So the reason why the guy requested or has that particular seat is because he suffers autism, which is a particular type of disability. Now, that narrative is missing even in all the general conversation on social media everywhere talking about that respect. If we understand issues around disability and you understand how a person with autism behaves, it's understandable how he has insisted, because the reason why he chose that seat, we're told, is that he would have fallen sick on the flight if he was not sitting next to a window seat. And that tells us a lot about how we view issues of persons with disabilities in the country. Because we don't even understand why an autistic person, why he's insisting that he has to be there.
Okay, just before we go ahead, we got reports, because we heard that review, but we got reports that it's possible, someone was actually speaking hypothetically, that possibly not demands response, but either way, it's a good point to understand disabilities. Now, I always take pride in the fact that you come to TVC, it's disability friendly. Every corner, there are different, there are ramps all over the place for people living with disability. We even have somebody blind in the radio. We have quite a number of people who work in TVC with disabilities. But in your own quest to ensure that people living with disabilities are properly integrated, what are you doing and what do you hope to do, especially in businesses and companies?
Well, we are grateful that right now the Disability Act is in effect. And what has happened is that a lot of people misconstrue disability. They think because some people have challenges, they are incapable in several other areas. Right. Some even people think that they are untouchable. And some people think that they are confined to the streets of begging. But the truth of the matter is that the God that creates these people creates them with special abilities in spite of what seems to be a challenge. And what we're trying to do is that it's important that we create room for them. We allow them their time in the sun, and we look for that special ability that each one of them has to prop them up and ensure they can fulfill their purpose. From a spiritual perspective, everybody has a purpose, and there must be room, especially in Nigeria. And that's why overseas, abroad, I heard you talking about places like that. There's special consideration given to such people, and that's what we're trying to do.
So we have a challenge with the laws, that this law has, we just make laws, but we don't have apparatus to hold companies accountable for not doing it and encouraging and incentivizing those that do it. So blind, we've had someone that came in that was blind. We had a group of blind people that said that Nigeria is one of the most difficult places for blind people to go around because we are not friendly. We don't have that ecosystem that encourages someone that has visual impairments to move around. What is your organization doing to pressure maybe public transport system, creating awareness for people to know these are the signs of someone with visual impairment? If you see this, this is what you should do. Generally preparing us to be better caregivers for those with visual impairment and other disabilities.
Right, okay, no, thank you. I think that's also where we talk about the implications for workplaces, businesses, and other stakeholders, the realities of the Nigerian disability law. In actual fact, it's called the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018. Now, that law makes certain provisions that it is an offense to discriminate against people living with disabilities. Now, how do we even get people to understand and appreciate what the issues are? So first and foremost, from an advocacy point of view, our focus as a foundation is over the next 5 years, because part of the provisions of the law is that every physical infrastructure or building must have amenities for people with disabilities. So if you don't have it, you've got 5 years. If your HR policies are not speaking to that,
your building
so we will do a disability audit. And I did when I came in. One of your security officers saw me when I was taking a photograph. And interestingly, when I tell people some languages that we don't need to use when we talk about disability-friendly environment, you call it a disabled parking. Is it the parking that is disabled or a parking for person with disability? So that even the right languaging, the right messaging must go out. So it's not the parking that is disabled. The person is not disabled. He's only living with a disability in there. So that even in terms of how we get that. So first and foremost, I think the awareness, advocacy, partnerships with organizations like yourselves, media, social media should get out to spread that message. That information is not out there yet. And then in terms of enforcing, now we want to work on the power of social media. We've got a hashtag, name and shame. So if we come to your building or come to your premises, you're not compliant with what the law says, we write to you, we speak to you about it, why don't you do something? Rather than spend the time going on litigation. The law makes provision for litigation to go to court, but the wheels of justice grind slowly. So we will rather use social media campaign. If we put it on there and say, oh, TVC is compliant with issues of disability. So disability audits or infrastructure audits, for instance, then it goes viral. The same way, if the organization is not compliant, that message goes out all across. And I think social media naming and shaming is much more powerful than having to go and say you want to go and enforce in the court of law.
I've had a conversation with an employer of labor who said that once you come in to apply for a job and you're disabled, you don't stand a chance because even the able people are finding it difficult to do the job, not talk of a disabled person. And I got
into a very heated argument with him. And what came out of that argument was the fact that a lot of people have that mindset that disabled people are not to, you are not to take them serious. Yes, they're second class. So what more do you think your organization and with your partnerships can do to change the mindsets of people? Because the thing is, even if we have all the laws on ground to show that we accept disabled persons, and you come into an organization, you don't see one disabled person, you should know that at the gate we send them away, probably. So how do we change that mindset?
Right, okay. So part of it is that we're having some conversations with the personnel managers and HR people, human resources people. Because I think if the HR manager or HR director doesn't get it, then it's difficult for organizations to be able to get it. So if the HR manager gets it and your policies are reflecting, so for instance, when people place adverts in newspapers, in other climes that you talk about, there is always a line that says, people with disabilities are encouraged to apply for these positions. And I've checked all through newspapers in Nigeria. None. So that in itself, you're already excluding people living with disabilities to apply. And people who live with disabilities, most of the time, many of them were not born with disabilities. There are people who had accidents. People like Professor Chino Achebe was not born with a disability. He went to the US, came to Nigeria, had an accident, became wheelchair bound, right? So there are people, and there are many cases like that.
When there are things you need to consider, companies also consider issues of costs.
Yes.
Cost of caring or ensuring that people living with disabilities are comfortable. Yes. It's a huge cost on the part of the employer, and lots of people are not willing to take in that investment. I know, as I said, I can say it anywhere. TVC invests a lot to ensure we have the parking spaces for people in that. We have the ramps everywhere. In fact, there's someone that used to report to me. She was in a wheelchair, and her team was taken upstairs, and she has to stay downstairs. Now, it's difficult for her to work with the team, and they're upstairs. So my CEO did everything to find some kind of ramp to get her to lift that upstairs to her team. They went through cost over cost. Okay, how do we get the most affordable equipment to lift this person? Just because of one person, one staff, he was willing to invest that amount of money. Unfortunately, it was so high a cost. He had to say, you know what? Temporarily, you have to manage. You stay downstairs, your team wants to have a meeting with you, they come downstairs. So that's how it is right now because of the cost implication of just ensuring that this disability person
incentivize it
because the downstairs was the news crew and upstairs was it was difficult to get that to happen.
You see, what we need really is a lot of orientation and reorientation. For instance, that gentleman that you are speaking about, our team can go have a conversation with him, give him track record, give him empirical evidence, calm him down, reassure him that in fact some of the best people that you can work with are people living with disabilities, you know. They're a bit more regular, they're a bit more consistent, they're very, very intelligent, they're gifted in other areas. You know, there was a guy, he was on drugs, went blind, used to come and see me in church. He could cross the expressway, 8 lanes, all by himself, unaided. So I asked him one day, I said, how do you do that? He says his feet can feel the traffic. So with his feet, he can feel the vibrations of the traffic and judge exactly where the cars are, where they're coming from. So God has a way. I have a blind guy also who can describe to you how to get to his house, even down to the body cellar on your left. Says when you pass that body cellar, then you see a bump, then you go left. He described it to me perfectly. So a lot of them are very gifted.
Good morning, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Joanna, good morning.
Morning.
My name is Joanna.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to share, I'm a mother of a child with disability.
Okay.
So I want to share with you about the topic I'm listening to now.
Yes.
I'm calling from Abuja. I'm a first caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. With my experience as a mother of a child with disability, my child is 18 years now. My child was mishandled in National Hospital when I gave back to him. That was 2001. And since that time, I've been taking care of this child. And my husband's office helped me in that area. My office also helped me. SCDA helped me. What I want to say in a nutshell is that when I went to England, I went to Israel, I went to US. When I became very ill, they started school in US free of charge. No money was taken from me. Some things were given to you free of charge. 10 teachers. So that's my child. 10 teachers. But when I was very ill, I have to come home. But when I came home, I decided that I will use my life, the remainder of my life, to take care of children with disability. So we formed an NGO. That NGO, my daughter could not get a job. I told my daughter to start running it. Then we started taking care of women and children. And I told my daughter that we must get a place for children with disability. So she started going to Sobo, Jiwa, Otako, about 5 local governments. My daughter goes here and look for these children that doesn't go to school and with disability.
Right.
So we now went to universal basic education.
Right.
That with what we have done, we went there and told them that they should give us a place where we can house these children and train these children with disability. Then with my experience, because
unfortunately, we have
to respect senior secondary school.
Right.
Not with FCDA.
Hello? Oh, sugar. I really want it because that's an experience of somebody who had to go through so much.
And thank you very much for calling and sharing that experience. Many people with disabilities were not born that way. So the founder of this foundation, my brother, was given an injection of expired injection, and from there, just like many other people. So, but what we're saying is that people are intelligent, as Pastor Ito has said. So part of what we've seen around, when you talk about cost, research has shown us that 30% organizations that employ people with disabilities have increased productivity by at least 30% in there. So when we look at cost, how much would you spend, a one-off cost, and to have 30% increase in productivity? I think it's to contextualize it for us stakeholders and business people to understand. And in any case, the law makes it mandatory. Before the law was signed in, it was a case of begging and pleading with the private sector. Now it is a case of you are compelled to do it. You've got 5 years to modify your existing building. If you're putting up any structure as of January this year when the law was signed, and we find out and it doesn't have those access, we can take you up on that. People can go to court on that, but we don't want to go that route. We want to go through the advocacy.
The law is in effect this year.
This year.
So henceforth now, you can actually get arrested.
You can get a fine of 1 million if you're a corporate organization. Imprisonment, 6 months imprisonment. If it's an individual, 100,000 or thereabout. But I want to touch on the skills that people with disabilities have. There's a scheme that we've put in place, looking at it and say, it's called the Enterprise Development Scheme, which we had a partner organization. It's a microfinance bank, let's say, if I can mention their name, because they believed in this concept initially. And they gave monies to people living with disabilities to start businesses, right? So some of them ride keke marwas and all that. We've got a documentary on it, which we've put together. And these guys have not defaulted. Not one of them defaulted on the loans given to them. They were given the loans at the existing rates as every other person, not a differential rate given to them. So believing in what they've done shows us that people with disabilities have extra skills that they can make things happen.
Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so my question is, for a lot of the people that get help or are able to get employment, they usually are born in a particular sort of family, they're able to get education, but there are so many Nigerians living with disability. They are not even able to get food on their tables. They're not able to get educated. What is the plan for them? Does your foundation have anything that you do for those category of people living with disability?
This is exactly why we have come together. Like we said, the foundation was started originally by his younger brother, Boye, who in the process of it has gone to be with the Lord. And the whole essence is to bring all these people together to, first of all, love them, to show them that we love and we care and we're interested. Number two, to look after them as best as we can within the resources that we have. Those who want to get an education, help them get an education. Those who want a job or a skill, help them acquire a skill. And then also advocate for them, which is very important. Come to people like yourselves. You know, I had a guy too on a wheelchair. I was thankful that Stanbic IBTC, through Atedo, who is a friend of mine, was able to take him on, okay? I met him at a program in Lagos, in Alausa. He had nobody, nothing. And I picked him up. started looking after him, paid his medicals, everything. And then I spoke to Atedo. And now he's been there 5 years, regular job, working well.
Smart.
They even bought him a wheelchair, electronic wheelchair.
Wow.
His life has changed. You understand? He has
Take this
become
call
somebody.
from Broad Street. Morning, are you there?
Good morning, Mario.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think what we feel mostly with people living with disability is more of pity, which I think some or most of the time they don't need it. I remember back then when I was in secondary school, I went to FGC, Azare, Bauchi State. They brought in some students with, they were blind actually. And I noticed then that if you, as a normal person, tries to help them in anything, if the principal sees you, you will be beaten, you will be punished. Because they felt they should find their way, they should find themselves around the environment, and which I think is what they actually need. Well, if everybody keeps thinking these people will not be able to do this, it's because you have not given them a chance.
Yeah.
You have not given them a chance.
Thank you very
to
much.
prove themselves,
Yes,
which is
So-
what they actually need, especially in Nigeria.
No
Thank you
pity.
very much.
Thank you, Abimbola. So I wanted to ask concerning parenting, because some parents give birth to children with disabilities, and some, they had able kids that through some form of accident, whatever, they become disabled and they don't know how to deal with it. So some of them are watching right now. What would you say to such parents or someone who knows someone who's going through that reality?
Well, I think it's important to be able to start having conversations that make issues of disabilities normal conversations. And I like what the caller I just called in said, that people should be inclusive. There should be that inclusivity or inclusion of people with disabilities. So that, for instance, we don't want, I personally, I don't like the concept of having to segregate certain children and say it's a school for the blind, it's a school for the deaf and all that. As much as it has its merits, what it does to society is that it doesn't help an average child to know how to integrate or how to relate. So my 9-year-old or 11-year-old child doesn't know how to. So when I become an HR manager in an organization, I don't even want to touch them because I've never known how to work with them. So parents themselves must feel free to be able to talk about it and have conversations. There's nothing wrong with that child. He's only living with some form of disability. There are much more people with mental disabilities that is not visible. People are going on depression, suicide around in there, behind the good makeup in there. So we're all disabled in one way or the other, if you can use that word. Everybody has it. So we should be comfortable to have the conversation with it and find how we can help them.
Yeah, so I worked in a school where they had special teachers to handle children living with disabilities, and some other schools do not have that means to get such teachers to handle them because there are several, sometimes you need special teachers to attend to their specific needs. So what are you doing? Are you partnering with schools to see how that can be possible?
Training teachers.
It's part of the conversations that we're having with the different stakeholders. So the summit we had last week, Tuesday, was about the implications for all stakeholders. So that includes schools as well. Because if a child spends a number of hours at school, the teachers also need to be taught how to deal with it. You need to know what kind of facilities you need to put in place, even for the school. So as a teacher, you're able to limit or
to round up. Is there any last message you want to give to our viewers living with disabilities? Is there anything is there any last message you want to give?
Well, we just want to say to people that generally, let's have the conversations going. Let's find other stakeholders. Let's make the issues around disability normal. Give them facilities. If you're a bank, if you're a financial institution, for instance, an employer of labor, make room, make space, because that's what the law says. So we're encouraging people to start engaging in the conversations now.
Finally,
because
who's going to be policing these companies? Who's going to be policing to ensure that the companies are actually making...
We will. You see, all we need is just one scapegoat, as it were. One scapegoat, and everybody will fall in line. Is it that we go through litigation, or we name and shame you via social media to say you're discriminating against people with disabilities, and it goes viral.
That's all we can take. Thank you so much,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for being here. Such a pleasure. So we'll definitely give you as much support as you need concerning this project, all right?
Thank you.
That's all we can take. To be part of our live audience show on Wednesday, please come early. Send your name, phone number, and picture to yourview@tvcommunications.tv. Come early so you can get a seat. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.